So then this one says to use the array below to write an equation that includes appropriate units and different placements of parentheses on each side of the equation. This equation should demonstrate two different ways to calculate the total number of objects in the array. One side of the equation should find the total number of objects in each column. So that's a little different because normally we would use rows, but this is saying to use columns. And then multiply that by the number of columns. So then while the other side of the equation should find the total number of groups, and then multiply that by the number of objects in each group, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just start with, since they mentioned columns, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I know that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And normally we would use like rows and then objects per row, but since they said to use columns, I know I would multiply that by the number of objects per column. Technically though, here I'm not using objects per column, I'm using groups per column. So if I did, in this case, there are 1, 2, 3 groups, right? In each column, there are 3 groups. So I could multiply that by 3 groups per column. And if I did that, right, 5 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, times there are 3 groups in each column, 1, 2, 3, that would give me 15 what? 15 groups, right? And so then I would multiply that by the number of objects per group, which I can see in any one of these groups, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 objects. I'll just call them stars, asterisks, whatever. And don't forget that second number has to have the per part on it, right? So when I do this, that would get rid of the columns part and it would just be 15 groups. So then that means the second number here has to be stars per, needs to have per group on it. And then, so that's going to be 5 times 3 times 4. And then let's make that equal to, and again, I'm not going to have room to put this all in one line, but we're just going to make it an equation. So I'm not going to change the order, right? It's going to be 5 times 3 times 4. Technically, I would let how I determine where the parentheses go. I know, though, since we're using the associative property, that we are going to put parentheses around the 3 times 4 this time, because last time we did the 5 times 3. So if I were to do 3 times 4, that would be using this groups method, right? So that would be saying, okay, I know that there are 3 groups, right? So here's like 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. And I would multiply that by 4. I'm going to keep it consistent. So if you used objects before, use objects. But if you use stars or asterisks, just keep it consistent. So 4 stars per group. Now, that wouldn't give me the total number of stars, right? So 3 groups times 4 stars per group would give me that there are 12 stars. But that's technically 12 stars per column. And so then the next thing I would do then is multiply that by 5 columns. And so that would be my answer. That's my equation. And I would get the same thing on both sides of that equation, even though I'm looking at it differently.